Okay, so what if the streaming wars, all that competition for what you watch, was about to have a definitive winner? Today, we are diving headfirst into a massive, high-stakes bidding war for one of Hollywood's crown jewels. And this deal, it could completely reshape the future of entertainment as we know it.
I mean, just let this sink in. This single sentence from a Bank of America report, it says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the incredible stakes here. We're talking about one single deal that could basically crown the undisputed king of your screen time.
So at the heart of this huge battle are two industry giants, right? You've got Netflix, the disruptor, and Paramount, the legacy player. And they are both desperately trying to get control of this legendary collection of brands under the Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella.
So what exactly is up for grabs here? I mean, we're not just talking about a movie studio. We are talking about an absolute treasure trove of iconic content. This includes the historic Warner Bros. Film library, the powerhouse streamer HBO Max, the entire universe of Batman and Superman with DC Comics, plus a whole portfolio of cable channels like CNN. It's a massive prize.
So the big question is, why is this happening now? You have to wonder, right? How does a company with assets this valuable, this iconic, become vulnerable to a takeover? Well, to really get the bidding war, you first have to look at the company's recent and, frankly, very turbulent history. The company has just been on a complete roller coaster. After this huge merger back in 2022, its stock price just went into a free fall. We're talking a collapse from about $25 a share all the way down to just over $7. A drop like that puts immense pressure on leadership. And by October of 2025, the board's hand was basically forced. They had to sell. Okay, so let's look at the two main contenders stepping into the ring. Because their bids, they reveal two completely different visions, two different playbooks for how to win the future of Hollywood. And this is where it gets really interesting. Notice the difference in approach here. On one side, you've got Netflix, the tech-first disruptor, making a higher, more surgical bid of around $28 a share. But here's the key. They only want the prize content assets, the studio and HBO Max. On the other side, you have Paramount, a legacy media giant, bidding a little less, but for the entire empire, cable channels and all. It's a classic battle, right? New media versus the old guard. And you can feel the tension. Paramount isn't just quietly bidding, they've actually formally complained in a letter. They're accusing WBD of running a myopic process, basically being short-sighted and rigging the game to favor Netflix. Now, some analysts see this as way more than just corporate griping. This could be the first shot fired in a hostile takeover attempt. So, with the bids this close and the accusations starting to fly, both sides are looking for any advantage they can possibly find. And that's where this story takes a turn. From the boardrooms in Hollywood to the halls of power in Washington, D.C. Yeah, insiders are talking about something they're calling the Trump card. It's this belief that Paramount, which is led by CEO David Ellison, has a political inside track. The theory goes that their close relationship with the White House makes their deal much more likely to survive the intense scrutiny that government regulators are going to put it through. And this perception, it isn't just smoke and mirrors. It's based on some very real things. Public praise from the president, vocal support from Republican lawmakers, and a real effort by Ellison to build relationships in Washington. Paramount's team has reportedly been using all of this to argue that their bid is just a safer bet for getting regulatory approval. But, and this is a huge but, it is critical to remember that presidential favor is not a rubber stamp for a multi-billion-dollar merger. The approval process is way more complicated than that, and history shows us that these deals can be, and often are, challenged. In fact, we've got a perfect example of this. Back in 2017, the Justice Department actually sued to stop a deal involving WBD's predecessor, Time Warner. So did the companies just fold? Nope. They fought the government in court, and you know what? They won. A legal battle is always a real possibility.
And, the regulatory threat is not a one-way street. The potential Netflix deal is already drawing some heavy fire from lawmakers like Senator Mike Lee. They're deeply concerned that a Netflix win would create an anti-competitive monopoly in the streaming market.
And on top of all of that, Washington isn't the only hurdle here. We are talking about a global media empire. Whichever company comes out on top is going to have to navigate a really complex and potentially very difficult approval process with regulators in the UK, the EU, and all across Latin America. It's a global gauntlet. So, after all of that corporate and political maneuvering, what does this actually mean for us? The people who actually watch the movies and the shows. What does it mean for the future of entertainment?
Well, if Netflix wins, it cements its position at the absolute top. For us, that could mean one massive, unbeatable library under a single subscription. But the end of the streaming wars could also mean less competition, which historically can lead to higher prices and maybe fewer risky experimental shows, because the winner has less incentive to innovate.
But if Paramount wins, it is a totally different story. This would be a massive consolidation of old Hollywood, creating a new titan built to fight back against the tech companies. This could actually foster more competition and keep prices in check. But on the flip side, huge mergers like this, they often lead to cuts and restructuring, which could put beloved shows or even entire creative divisions on the chopping block.
So we're left with two profoundly different paths for the future of what shows up on your screen. Will we see one tech giant crowned the undisputed king of Hollywood, or will legacy media consolidate to make one last big stand? The remote might be in your hand, but who truly has control? Well, that's being decided right now.